The following show and broadcast is a production of Better Savannah, an independent expenditure committee dedicated to better policy outcomes at the state and local level. The views, opinions, and statements made by the hosts and/or their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Better Savannah.
Yeah, I want to thank some of the people that spoke tonight because they addressed one of the biggest issues in our previous failure to address the proliferation of STVRs, and that they identified those investment properties as small businesses. Well, we do not allow businesses in our residential districts because of the impact on our residents.
All right, so what is your pleasure regarding this?
Mayor, I just asked the city manager to help me with a recommendation to see where the city was coming from as it relates to this item, and also from the NPC. The NPC already told us about denial, and I just wanted both sides of this spectrum to come to a completion of having a good business. And
I appreciate our tourism community. I appreciate our hoteliers.
John, what's going on, buddy?
What is this, show 52? Or
This is episode number 52.
I got it right.
Hard to believe, man. They're flying by. I have a feeling we're going to have a jam-packed amount of shows in the next few weeks with the special election for 165, Tybee Island, Port Wentworth. There's a lot going on around town, but I just want to welcome everybody in. You're listening or watching the preview portion of episode 52. It's been a while since we did a members only episode, John. So happy to give our supporters the extra content. You can get instant access to this full episode after the preview section by going to www.patreon.com/Better Savannah. So definitely support if you want to get more content, or if you just want to support what it is we're trying to do. Please click on the link that'll be in the description to do so. It's as little as $5 a month. It's right there on an app on your phone, and you get instant access as soon as we post member-only content. So I just want to lay that out there for everybody. This episode, John, this is a Tale of Two Councils, Part 2. So, last week we had Matt Kitchens on talking about Tybee Island STVRs. We are going to support, Better Savannah is going to support Mac in the selection. There are 3 seats up. We may or may not get involved in endorsing another candidate. And any candidate out there that wants to come on and talk to us, please, message the page. We'll make sure to get you on before election time. So with all that kind of being said, John, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I want to thank our members before we get started, Chuck, because they're the ones that say, you know what, I really like what you guys are doing, and whether I listen to 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 hours of your insight and information, I believe in what you're doing. It really means a lot to me. So,
Absolutely. Well, again, if you want to just get access, you can go to patreon.com/Better Savannah. Really easy way to support and get access to all of our content on one feed. So John, moving to the Savannah City Council, it's been a while. They had a meeting 2 weeks ago, the same night we were watching the STVR debate on Tybee, and then they also had another meeting today. So we're going to go through and kind of talk about several different aspects of things that are going on. Two main issues, right? Want to talk about development in the design district. There's a business that wants to get a restaurant zoning special use permit.
Special use permit, yeah.
And then we want to talk about kind of the annexation and rezoning of land on the outskirts of the city, how it relates to impact fees, quality of life, transportation, kind of along the core main issues. So just to give it an overview, I'm just going to go through a couple of these clips and kind of build the story for our viewers. Okay.
I saw the preview.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear the Tybee City Council on the on the cusp of a moratorium on
right.
short-term vacation rentals,
which they voted for and they approved.
Yeah. And they were incredibly sober and accepting of the responsibility that the government had failed previously in administrations, but they were going to do something about it. And then your contrast clip, and hopefully you're not playing the same clips. Maybe
we'll play the longer version of that clip, during here. But
you had Detric fumbling on.
It's
night and day, and I get it. And it's kind of ironic that a little tiny city council with 3,000 residents wind up just knocking the snot out of this big, city government that can't figure out what to do on whether or not somebody can open up some cheese and serve it. So
we were talking in the preview to recording tonight that we may be on opposite sides of this. I think it'd be a good little debate for our viewers here. So let's just kind of get the feel. This is a special use permit hearing. They had an open public hearing with comments a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago in the meeting. I will update our viewers and our listeners. They did continue this issue for another 30 days today. And we could talk about why towards the end. But let's just go ahead and get into the clip so we can give everybody a feel for this business requesting a special use permit on Whitaker Street in the design district. It's Whitaker and Jones, the cross streets. It used to be the cleaners, John, the dry cleaners, right? White Way was the name, and then I think you probably be familiar because Mrs. Wilkes Sporting House is on the next block over. So let's just
Circle Lighting's right there. I mean,
there's a lot of, but those are retail businesses. We'll get into the debate here after we inform our viewers.
I believe we've gotten through all of these.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item number 23 is a resolution approving a supplemental amendments to the FY 2021 budget resolution to implement a 3% cost of living adjustment for our employees. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about this extensively throughout our mid-year budget review. And at the time, the goal was that we promised to do something for our employees in terms of pay increases. We wanted the staff to kind of hang with us because we did not know what COVID would show us in the first 2 quarters of the year. Well, we know we had a pretty favorable assessment as it relates to the millage, and the consensus at that meeting at that time was that we would maintain the millage so that we could do something for our employees. We investigated several levels. We asked the city manager to come back with us and give us how much it would cost to be able to do that.
Oh, I'm so sorry, John. That's the clip about. We'll get to that one later. I'm sorry, guys. That's the clip about raising the salaries of the city employees. I will get to that a little bit later on. Let me start these clips.
Fellow colleagues, I've been torn with this task for the past couple of days, and I went and done my due diligence to sit down with the applicant. I've walked and I sat in my vehicle and watched the atmosphere around the property, and we've asked on more than one occasion that there be a good neighbor agreement. A good neighbor agreement was drafted. It wasn't signed by the residents that will be directly impacted by the business. They don't seem to want the business there. They want to continue to have the business in its current state, but they don't feel that the additions to the business will be a good addition to the community. I think that this issue, if I can ask for some clarity from Mr. Lotz and also a recommendation from our city manager, where is the NPC at this moment? Are they still on the fence with the votes, or is it on a denial? In our paperwork, it says it was on a denial.
All right. So again, apologies for playing the wrong clip. I cut these 2 weeks ago, but I want to go straight to Marcus Lotson from the MPC clarifying. That's going to be a theme here with Second District Alderman Detric Leggett. It's our alderman here in the Second District, John. This is his district. As is customary on council, council typically defers to the district alderman, unless it's a special use permit for the weeping time, obviously. Obviously, it's the alderman is who represents them that knows these people the most. So Detric is trying to parse the middle between residents and a business interest. So a business wants to open up a restaurant. Okay, they already have a business there. They can sell food, but they can't unpackage it. There is some technicalities and some nuances in this debate, but the gist of it is that by approving the special use, the capacity for this restaurant will be much larger. And I think that's kind of my main issue that I think is being argued. Jim Marikas at the Savannian wrote a good article about this last week. He kind of took a couple of veiled shots because we're not going to play these clips, but there's a ton of residents from the area that came out to oppose this. A couple that came to support it as well, but essentially you've got a neighborhood that is already adjacent to and in the mix of a dominating business tourist district, John. You know this. You don't live far, right? I don't live far, so I think there's some good points on both sides. So let's listen to Marcus Lotson from the MPC clarify Detric's first question there.
That motion, however, failed, which meant that it was a recommendation for denial that we forwarded to you.
And no other motion was made, so it's considered a denial, correct?
Yeah, correct, Mr. Mayor.
So it was more of a technical denial than it was an intentional denial.
So Detric's first question of clarification was, so you just voted down the recommendation for approval, but you didn't recommend denial? Yeah, Detric, that isn't of itself a denial, So again, I'm framing this debate, John. You got a business seeking a special use permit, and then you have the MPC, which is made up of appointees, mostly from the city of Savannah, and
the county.
But the majority of the seats are from the city, I believe. I think that we've got the most amount of seats on the MPC, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me in the comments later if I'm wrong. But the MPC did not approve this special use permit, so it's getting sent up per new zoning regulations to the council for an up or down vote. And there's just kind of, I can't tell whether Detric is genuinely not understanding how this process works, or if it's a smoke and mirrors game to kind of obfuscate the reality of the decision they're attempting to make. What do you think?
I think, I got a couple of points. Specifically to your question, I think Detric wants to make everybody happy.
That's impossible to do in public service.
Exactly. So,
when you were running for office, you were on the county commission, did you ever once try worrying about making everyone happy?
Well, yeah, I worried about it, but I
Sure.
was sober enough to realize that wasn't going to work. So,
and were you a leader enough to just tell interests and constituents who disagreed with you, hey, look, I just don't agree with you because of this, and this. It's called making a principled position stand, right?
Yeah, it was like the Walmart at Sandfly.
I know that was a big issue for you when you were on commission.
Issue, and I thought the community was overwhelmingly against it, and the developers came to me and said, "Oh no, you don't understand. The community really wants it." So I went door to door for a weekend. 6 hours one day, 7 hours the next day, and I came away, and actually there were more people than I thought that wanted it, but it was no way a majority of people, Chuck.
Right.
The majority did not want it, but not as big a majority as I thought. So, parsing your language and stumbling around is not a good look for an elected official.
Yeah.
But Detric is very new, so there's something going on there. The other comment,
it's all green. They're all green.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The other overarching, macro observation is, it's like the horse in the barn. Okay, when it comes to tourism and saturation, and clearly a lot of this special use permit is to attract more visitors who are going by Miss Wilkes and the design district. Not only is the horse out of the barn, and the barn is burned to the ground, and now you want to put smoke detectors in. Okay. If prior councils, the Deloach Council and Edna's Council had spent this sort of concern and focus and macro considerations on the whole issue.
It's the same thing Mayor Shirley Sessions of Tybee said, John. It's the same thing.
It is. So I just find it's crazy that we're slicing the bologna so thin down to whether or not you can open a package of crackers and a little bite of cheese. I mean, shit, we got 7 or 8 million tourists a year coming here.
Well, John, this new zone regulation, this new zone that requires these special use permits get voted up or down at council, I'm almost against it now, because now what you set up is a political, smoke and mirrors show where, staff, which a good portion of council doesn't even trust, that are presenting it in a way that is equitable for all of their constituents, are presenting these things in a way that are generally pro-developer and pro-business and not pro-resident. So I just want to make this point with this clip on Bernetta. Again, go back to our special episode 50, the Weaving Time special with Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Griffin Lotson and Pastor Smalls, but this is Alderman Lanier making this point.
So here we are again with these special use permits, and they have been such a problem for us, and I'm glad we're working on these. And I have a problem when people purchase properties or lease properties and they already know zoning in place, but they purchase these properties because they're so sure that the practice of council has been to grant them those zoning changes. And that's unfortunate.
So
he's on the money.
Making a huge, great point, Alderwoman Lanier. When you see this, please, understand that was a great point that you made. I think there's a lot of speculation. This was evident. Again, this is why this is a 2-part episode series, The Tale of Two Councils, because that was very evident in the STBR debate. It's a lot of speculation that things will continue to get approved, continue to be business as usual, because it's profitable for those who already have capital. And I thought that the 2019 elections were about 2 things: overinvestment in tourism, poverty that leads to excess crime. Okay. Those are the 2 main issues. So, I just want to give that shout out. Again, we are further, getting into the smoke and mirrors on this special use permit. Let's listen to this clip.
Yeah. It appears, Mr. Manager, though, that some of the neighbors may not have seen this document. So
That's true.
I don't know. All right. So what is your pleasure regarding this?
Mayor, I just asked the city manager to help me with a recommendation to see where the city was coming from as it relates to this item, and also from the NPC. The NPC already told us about denial, and I just wanted both sides of this spectrum to come to a completion of having a good business. And I'm always on the side of quality of life. So,
Mr. Mayor,
to the manager.
Mayor, yeah, before I give a response, I want Marcus to remind me of the qualifications that NPC recommended, just so that we're all clear. Marcus, can you remind me of all the conditions that NPC put on this petition?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It appears, Mr. Manager, though, that some of the neighbors may not have seen this document. So
That's true.
I don't know whether we do that now. Do we allow them the time to see it? Because if it's a good neighbor agreement, how could it be a good neighbor agreement if the neighbors don't know?
Well, I would ask Alderman Leggett. My understanding, Mr. Mayor, was that all the neighbors did have an opportunity to review that, but only I would have to defer to Alderman Leggett.
Yes, sir. The good neighbor agreement was crafted. Majority of the neighbors did not want to participate because they did not agree with any of the conditions in it. They didn't want anything to go there besides what's there right now. But I asked my colleagues at council and city manager if there was a way for us to table this issue until we can have more dialogue. But if we have to come to a conclusion today, I'm ready for a motion.
Well, I think.
So,
That's pitiful.
give me a response first, because I got a response coming in a second. Go ahead.
I am going to completely flip the script on what I thought was, a small, unimportant little special use approval, and I'm going to come over to your side on this, Chuck, after listening to that clip, and tell you that if not a single neighbor in the surrounding blocks didn't sign the good neighbor agreement, it's a dead issue. It's a no. Detric, how hard is it? If your constituents say no, no means no.
Here's what I got to say, John.
Who's on first?
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar.
Who's on first, Sean? Who's on third? Who's on first? Albert, there's just this big game of, what's the NPC say? Well, the NPC said denial. Yeah. Oh, well, there's good neighbor agreement. Oh, the neighbor said no. Then none of them would sign it. Well, Mr. Manager, do you have a recommendation? It's searching for a solution without a problem. And I just point this out as a juxtaposition against the Tybee City Council, which stood up for their residents directly.
Exactly. Okay.
Go ahead. So I've convinced you.
You have convinced me, because I've had a couple weeks here at least a week to roll it around, and I think I just got unstuck from the idea of opening a can of crackers and a block of cheese wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal because it's emblematic of the larger issue, which is do the right thing. NPC says no. Neighbors say no. Why are we beating this horse to death to find some mediocrity in the middle for Detric Leggett. Detric should just say, I'm sorry, but I've got to follow the logic, the reason, and the history of how we got to such a big problem in the historic district. And it's little stuff like this that led to Perry Lane Hotel getting an extra floor.
That's right.
Perry
That's
Lane
right.
Hotel getting no need for any setback from the street. Have you walked past Perry Lane Hotel on Drayton Street?
It's huge.
Cars
It's
going
huge.
by?
It's scary. It's
kind of
just right up against the road.
It's a gauntlet, practically.
It's the same type of clearance to the road that I got in a car accident on Whitaker. You know that, right? Same type of. But at least that church has been there for 120 years. All right.
So that was a Deloach administration blunder.
Yes, it was. Yes, and it probably started even before that under Edna Jackson, who we're going to be talking a lot about soon, since she's qualified to run for the special election in 165. I just, again, to make sure you can go, I'll put the link in the episode description to the city's video of this council meeting, because this was 2 hours, John. This was like almost 2 hours. There was like an hour of public comment that we're not showing you, but I do want to show the again, guys, if you're a citizen, Van Johnson, our mayor, will limit you to 2 minutes. But if you're a barrister, if you're an attorney representing a petitioner, you get to go on and on. So I want to give the petitioner's representative, Philip McCorkle, attorney at law. Everybody's going to recognize his name who watches our show. The father of the son. He's representing the business, the client, as the petitioner. So I want to play his clip. It's a little bit long, so you get a chance to get a feel and refresh your memory, John. Okay.
All right. Mr. McCorkle, I believe we've gotten all the public comment. Mr. McCorkle, a brief closing statement, and then we'll move to council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate the fact that it seems, when I hear all of this, it seems as if the owners or the operators of this business are a dream business owner for this location and for the neighbors. We've heard about how fabulous their remodel and investment in this neighborhood has been. We've heard that they live a half a block away. It's not like they're not invested in this neighborhood. We've heard nothing but compliments about every single thing that they have done in the neighborhood already, and their store, and what they're doing. We have also heard a mention of a good neighbor agreement, which I've got in front of me, which I think all of y'all got a copy of. I think it's worth noting that they've also done everything they've been asked to do by a neighbor other than, you can't do this. They have gone out of their way to talk to all of these neighbors, everyone on these blocks, to try to figure out what they can do to address and assuage the concerns of their neighbors, not just as a business, their personal neighbors. And so they've agreed it's only going to be a bread warmer and a refrigerator, that they are only going to serve, they will be closed by 6 p.m. We're talking about lighting. They're going to be closed at 6 p.m. They have agreed that all tables and chairs for patrons will all be placed on the Jones side, will not be placed on the Jones side street of the property, so it won't be visible from the residences. All of this is included in this good neighbor agreement, which they went to the effort of not just signing themselves, but if you had a chance to look at it, it's signed by 2 ward captains as well as 22 residents. And it's worth noting that several of these residents, including Celia Dunn and others who were signed on here, were originally against what they were asking to do. And my clients have gone so out of their way to address the concerns that they are now in favor of what they're asking and have signed this agreement. So the concern seems to be that somehow this is going to become Miss Wilkes, or that somehow every other business is now going to serve food because of this. And my two last comments about that are, is one, these folks have given absolutely no indication that they're anything other than great business owners and neighbors. So why all of a sudden their business is going to become a loitering nuisance? There's absolutely no indication for this. The good neighboring agreement they've agreed to also states that this agreement for this special use cannot pass to any other tenant. So if they go away, the special use goes away. So you don't have to worry about anybody else coming in and doing something different. And then lastly, the idea that everyone's going to want the same thing, I don't know whether other people will apply for it or not. I don't know whether the ordinance will change to address that this isn't a restaurant or not. But what I do know is the whole purpose of a special use is that each property, each time this comes up, they're going to have to come to the city and they're going to have to ask this council if they can do it. And you may say, you know what, not for this business owner, not for this business location, it's not just right. But I do believe that on this case and this special use, it is just right. And thank you for the time.
Boy, that's good earned billable hours for sure.
Yeah.
You know, again, I want to take exactly his conclusionary point. That's exactly what council's doing here, right?
Well,
Each and every special use permit has to be weighed on the overall value to the city versus the immediate resident impact, the overall resident impact. You know, what they're talking about, John, is a space in Charlton Lane, in the lane in the back, that can hold 40 people. Kind of like, you know how the back of Foxy Loxy is on Bull Street, like a courtyard, right? So like that's what they're talking about. They're talking about way more foot traffic during the day in that lane and in this neighborhood. And that's the reason for the opposition. So again, I think the benefits and drawbacks are clear here, Alderman Leggett. You got resident quality of life, foot traffic, you know, issue versus overall value to the city, tourism industry, whatnot, have you, you know, the better quality tourists, as Michael Owens would say, right, John?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, you know, the main issue here. I do want to give Van Johnson a little bit of credit, you know, where it's due when he asked this following question about how a special use granting, you know, may legally tie to the property and not just the business, which was a constant kind of question in this debate.
Thank you, Mr. McCorkle. My question is probably the most important. What happens if the property is sold?
The way the agreement that they've entered into.
No, I mean, the agreement is the agreement, and the agreement is between people,
right?
But zoning is for the property. And
I don't
so
think.
I guess the point that rubs with me, and I've been doing this for a while, is that we like the people, and so you like with the people. If the property is sold, the good neighbor agreement is not binding on the property. I mean, I think everybody is, you know, we agree the petitioners are outstanding people, the people anybody would want in their neighborhoods. But I guess beyond this, if the property is sold, Ms. Singer indicated, you know, that people were behind her, you know, to be able to purchase it. I mean, so if something changes in that, then obviously this is moot. The good neighbor agreement is moot.
Right. I think the important thing here is not the property so much. This is a tenant who, and so what would have to have been, I think, is a sale of the business itself. But there's absolutely no reason that your approval of the special use cannot be conditioned on the very things that the client has already agreed to do. It can be conditioned upon their time of sale. It can be conditioned upon them not having seating on the Jones Street side. It can be conditioned upon all the things that were already agreed to and listed. And with those conditions, I guess if they sold their business and moved and sold it to a different entity, they would still be subject to the exact same conditions that you placed on
the property.
On the property, on the business, yes. The special use goes to the business that's there.
Right, it goes right. Okay.
And the conditions would stick with it too. If you pass it with the conditions that they follow those rules, then if someone were to buy this business, I suppose they would have to operate under those same rules. And then if a different business comes in, if their business closes and some new tenant comes in, they wouldn't be allowed to do this use.
I'm not sure that that's true. I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on Facebook. You know, John, I feel like if a restaurant is permitted for this property and you and I go buy that property, John, I'm feeling like there's a precedent for a restaurant permit. And just because these people want a quaint little Paris market type of food service doesn't mean that you and I are going to feel the same way. You and I may have the need to make more of a return on our investment than these people. Again, I just want to give credit here. I mean, I think Van was absolutely right. It's the most important question. it's always about what happens when the property's sold down the road to me. I thought that was just a very wise question to ask. And I was not personally satisfied with McCorkle's answer there.
Okay. Let's take a second, Chuck, and ask, why are we having this conversation at all? I mean, that is, why aren't the rules the rules? Why isn't the MPC Commission's denial the end of it?
You know, John, maybe we should have an ordinance that says, since you need 4 votes to get something on the agenda,
yeah,
maybe to overturn an MPC recommendation, maybe you need 6 votes to get it on to pass it. Maybe the council should be required to have a 2/3 majority in order to override the recommending body. I'm not sure how again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure what the solution is there.
Well,
but
I want to make the point.
The question. Well, make your point here, because I think I understand what it is already. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go a little astray here, Chuck. This is as Van described, a very little small business. Okay, and so they put it in this context of this isn't going to bother anybody. The size isn't the issue. It's, do we have rules or don't we? And when you look at Perry Lane Hotel, when you look at the elimination of the setbacks, the extra story, if you look at the bond issuance for Kessler, if you look at the tax allocation district for Eastern Wharf, okay, where I'm going with this, Chuck, is if we don't follow the rules with the big fish, why in the world should we expect the small fish to follow the rules? It's precedence. All we're talking about is scale.
So this is what I was kind of telling you in the pre-show, before we started recording, was John, like, if they won't listen to an MPC recommendation in the most heavily populated part almost of the downtown historic landmark district, right? If they won't listen to these residents, then, good freaking luck listening to residents of Twickenham or, Cloverdale or Southside, Paradise Park, West Savannah. Good luck. No wonder we can't get listened to on other issues. These super wealthy, super well-to-do people who live downtown can't even get listened to.
Well, listen, I would feel a lot better if we just applied the rules to everyone equally. I think that's the of the law. That's what we call justice. And we're not getting it because of a bunch of weak-kneed, mamby-pamby people on council that want to please everybody.
Right.
That's not possible. And listen, for the record, all our viewers, we supported Detric Leggett. Like
4 years.
Nobody's business. We donated. We advocated. You drove around on election night with the guy going from precinct to precinct.
Not only that, like helping everybody break down the numbers in real time so they could do things. It's not just disappointing because of the process and the decision. You've seen how I've broken it down for us. Like, it's just disappointing to see Detric fumble something that seemingly is very simple. But let's just watch this last clip of kind of Linda Wilder Bryan, breaking down kind of part of what you're talking about here with the lack of policy.
I would probably tell you that we hope to have something for council to respond to, probably in the first meeting or first or second meeting of October. But I think the key word, Alderwoman, is something to respond to. These are nuances that you're never going to have a perfect ordinance. Yeah. It will never cover every single case. Well, so there will always be some things in it. So, but I do believe we'll get you something in October to respond to.
I understand because of the human part of it, but we do have to have a definition of what a restaurant is. That's
exactly. She's kind of speaking to what you're saying. There's not a lot of clear policy, and why don't we have it? And it's always, just like we're going to learn from other clips here later on, it's always coming around the corner soon. There's always an ordinance being worked on. So, I want to end the preview with the clip I accidentally played up front, John. And this just relates back to episodes 49, death and taxes. In this same meeting 2 weeks ago, City Council of Savannah approved a 3% cost of living adjustment for
employees.
The employees, John. All right. So I want everybody to understand this. There's 2,300 employees. Okay.
Yep.
The vast majority of these employees make less than the median income of the metropolitan statistical area. The Tri-County MSA median income is $58,000. The vast majority of these people make less than that. John, what do we know about people who make less than that kind of income? They generally don't own a home. Okay. So these people are renting, right? So we're giving these people a 3% cost of living adjustment, and we're raising taxes on non-Stevens Day property, which is rented to these people, by about an average of 10 to 20%. All right.
Yeah.
So I just want to give that juxtaposition as we watch this clip. I didn't mean to show early on, and then we'll comment again on the other side.
I believe we've gotten through all of these.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item number 23 is a resolution approving a supplemental amendments to the FY 2021 budget resolution to implement a 3% cost of living adjustment for our employees. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about this extensively throughout our mid-year budget review. And at the time, the goal was that we promised to do something for our employees in terms of pay increases. We wanted the staff to kind of hang with us because we did not know what COVID would show us in the first 2 quarters of the year. Well, we know we had a pretty favorable assessment as it relates to the millage, and the consensus at that meeting at that time was that we would maintain the millage so that we could do something for our employees. We investigated several levels. We asked the city manager to come back with us and give us how much it would cost to be able to do that. And so he sent a memo to us indicating the levels and how much it would cost. The council agreed to maintain the current millage rate that would give us the funds that we would need to be able to ensure we're able to give a cost of living increase that is deserved to our employees. And so the recommendation is that we would implement a 3% cost of living adjustment citywide, and that will be retroactive to July 1st, which is essentially mid-year, as we had discussed. Alderman Palumbo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every great house has to have a rock solid foundation. In the city of Savannah's house, our foundation is our employees, 2,500 strong.
Yes.
And they've worked alongside us to get through very difficult 18 months. What are we stretching along now? So it's an honor to bring this forward and recognize them, that it begins here, and we're going to continue to improve as we move forward. So I'd like to make a motion for the approval of a supplemental amendment to the FY 2021 budget resolution to implement a 3% cost of living adjustment.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate you all willing to maintain the millage rate, so we're able to do this. This costs us about $3.5 million. And so the big chunk of that comes from us being able to maintain our millage rate with no additional tax increase to our residents. All in favor indicate by showing your hands. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Yes.
Mayor.
All right, John. So you're a landlord, right?
Yep.
You've got a property, and the tax bill just went up 20%.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Your tenant is a city of Savannah employee, a hard-working, blue-collar, great person. Always communicates, never has a problem, and your tax bill just went from $1,000 a year on this property to $1,200, and that person who was making $44,000 a year is now in a position where they are only going to make, $700 more. Let me do that math real quick because I'm tired. It's the end of the day here. Okay, 44,000. Even do 400 times 0.03.
Yeah,
okay. That person's getting a $1,300 raise after taxes. Call it 60% of that. Okay, they're going to see about $750. Now, John, since your property to this person is going up by $200 in rent, how much in rent are you going to increase that tenant?
Well, I'm just figuring it out. My
please,
my rental property went up almost 9% in value.
Okay.
In the appraisal.
Okay.
So on the city side, I'm looking at probably between $500 and $600 more in taxes. So that means everybody's going to probably get a $30 or $40 a month rent increase when the lease renews.
Correct. So again, when I tell people that this is a tax increase, it's a tax increase you won't feel right away. You're going to feel it when your lease renews. Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, obviously, I'm really pissed about this. The rollback this year was worth way more than it was last year. Last year was only 500,000 and change or 600,000 and change. And this was, 2.1 million. And I just want people to realize that clip, that is the gun coming off the back of aldermen who voted for that tax increase. I really believe that had they successfully rolled that millage rate back, I believe Van might have had enough votes to hold a cost of living adjustment, available. So, again, to me, it flies in the face of the logic of what this council ran on. I don't understand it. I think it's stupid. And if they do this again next year, going into an election year, I think it's gonna really, this pushes poor residents who are mostly Black out of Savannah. That's what it's going to end up doing over the long haul, John.
Well, I agree. And personally, Chuck, the way it has been, the way Van has expressed it, the words he chose in his statements, you and I both know because, you're in mortgage lending and I'm in real estate ownership. We can see right through the rhetoric and realize that the dude's basically spinning so fast he's on the verge of lying. And I'll be rough and say, you know what? It's a total mischaracterization. If you're a renter, you're going to see higher rents. This is also a mayor who has touted the significance and the importance of his task forces, specifically, the affordable housing task force.
No action yet, just recommendations.
Well, one recommendation from that task force ought to be roll back the millage rate so that rents can stay lower. So we're really working at contravailing principles here, and we're selling it as we didn't increase taxes, which is totally disingenuous. Last point.
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's an outright lie. Okay. Okay. And honestly, I wish the Attorney General would send a cease and desist letter to these politicians running around town saying they did not raise taxes when, by definition, under state law, not just under state law, but by logic, they raise taxes. The amount of revenue coming from this digest, which is taxpayers, people who rent property are taxpayers. They pay that fifth penny, John. Okay.
Yeah.
They pay that fifth penny. They pay you the rent money so you can pay the tax bill. If you don't have no rent money, sooner or later, you ain't going to have money to pay that tax bill. Just saying.
For this conversation, I'm going to borrow Jim's great line from the Savannian. When is a restaurant not a restaurant? When is it a tax increase not a tax increase? And that's
definitely.
That's when Ben Johnson tells you it's not. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
Now, two points, and then I'll let you go on this. What we're talking about are wages. We're talking about City of Savannah, the 2,300 employees getting a 3% increase. Our viewers need to know that Keisha Gibson Carter was denied putting an item on the agenda that would have most likely led to a resolution or a motion to make certain that no employee in the city of Savannah makes less than $15 an hour. Okay.
Let's take it a step further, John. The city of Savannah received its first share of the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Recovery Plan Act under Biden, right? $26 million. They got that at the end of May. They could have raised these wages in June.
Yeah, well, true. The other point that I want to make, and again, on Keisha's behalf, she attempted very recently in the last days of Michael Brown to get an item on the agenda that was a discussion about should city council offer a resolution in support of encouraging the hospitality industry to consider raising their wages within whatever latitude they had. That was denied. So if you want to see real wage change and meaningful
A better way to put it, John, Van Johnson wanted the city of Savannah employees to pay for that wage increase themselves.
Through their higher rents.
Correct. You know, so I just think it's very disappointing. It's very angering. I think it's one of the worst decisions they've made. But again, we want to thank everybody, you know, who logs in, you know, Thursdays to watch our regular show. This is the free preview. We're going to take a quick break. You can subscribe for instant access for the back half of this show, the full show, you know, with the link that's scrolling down at the bottom, www.patreon.com/BetterSavannah. That'll get you instant access to the full show. So, guys, we appreciate you stopping by for, you know, our regular program. If you want to take a quick break, John, we'll be back in the members section. We're you know, the members content tonight. We're talking about today's city council meeting, county annexation, impact fees, lack thereof. You know, you definitely don't want to miss it. You know, $5 will get you access at the link below. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Sure.
Don't you think it's time for the city of Savannah to have an honest tourism management plan? Let SCAB start paying its fair share? And the hospitality industry needs to increase its wages? The impacts of new growth should not cost residents. All local elected officials on council and commission should have term limits. We're working hard to accomplish these policies. We need your help. Please contribute whatever you can, $5, $10, or $20, by going to bettersavannah.org. Donate. Thank you.
I appreciate our tourism community. I appreciate our hoteliers.
This is the Council of Change, and we are bringing that.
Today is delivery day. We're out here delivering the pilot to-go cups. So I'll see you all out there. I'm going to go rock this delivery. Come out and enjoy the aluminum to-go cups, and we'll be launching these bad boys next week. I'll see you out there soon.
on here, Better Savannah. So I clicked on that, and here you go. Reformation through policy, Better Savannah. Now, I got to give them this. They got better graphics than I do. When I have to do a thumbnail for a video, I got to do it myself, and I'm not all